Now, the LA Times revealed that the Houthi rebels captured U.S. intelligence documents that the Americans left behind as they rushed out of Yemen. The State Department today had no comment on what may be a disastrous development. Chris?
Ed, thank you. For more, let's bring in Adel Al-Jubeir, the Saudi ambassador to the U.S. Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening, Chris.
With the coalition of Gulf nations that Saudi Arabia is now leading in Yemen, is this becoming a proxy war between Iran on the one hand and Saudi Arabia on the other?
It's becoming a war to defend the people of Yemen and to defend the legitimate government of Yemen and to degrade and destroy the capabilities of a very, very radical organization that seeks to take over Yemen, seeks to take over ballistic missiles, heavy equipment, as well as an air force, and this is something that we cannot tolerate.
And are you and the other Sunni Gulf nations prepared to go in, not just airstrikes, but to go in on the ground to take back this territory?
We think it may be too early to consider those options, but we will do whatever it takes to degrade and defeat the Houthis in Yemen in order to protect the people of Yemen.
Whatever it takes, meaning, if needed, ground forces.
Yes. Whatever it takes, we are prepared to do, and we're discussing it with our coalition allies as well as with the United States.
Now, you say it's not, this is just protecting Yemen, but it's bigger than Yemen because you have Iran backing Shiite forces in Yemen, in Syria, in Iraq, and Saudi Arabia on the other side backing Sunni forces. Isn't this becoming a conflict across the Middle East?
If it is a conflict that we didn't start. The Iranians are the ones who are meddling in the affairs of the Arab countries, whether it's in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, and whether it's in Yemen. Our approach has always been to try to extend a hand of friendship. We want to live in peace. We want our people to be secure. It is the Iranians who have been on the offensive and have been acting aggressively towards the Arab countries, and this is something that we cannot tolerate.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, is given the fact that you are now setting this line and moving into Yemen, is that a statement more generally about what you're prepared to do to stop Iranian advances across the region?
We have to deal with Iran's aggression in the region. We're dealing with their support of the Houthis and the Houthis' attempt to take over in Yemen by taking on the Houthis with our allies. We are supporting the Syrian opposition in Syria. We are working with the Iraqis in order to bring balance among the different Iraqi communities so we can reduce Iran's influence in Iraq. Absolutely. We don't believe that Iran has the right to interfere in the affairs of its neighbors.
You talk about Iran's aggression. What do you think Iran's strategy is across the region?
It's very obvious that they want to dominate the region. Their officials have made no bones about publicly saying how proud they are to control 4 Arab capitals, Beirut, Damascus, Baghdad, and Sana'a. Other Iranian officials have been very public about saying that the Middle East should be under Iranian domination, and they have not been secret or quiet about what their true intentions are. We will not tolerate any aggression against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or our allies.
This is where it gets complicated because in Iraq, the U.S. is now launching airstrikes as part of the offensive to take back Tikrit from ISIS. But a couple of days ago, this was an offensive that was being led by Iranian-led Shia militia. Are you concerned that the United States is in effect becoming the Iranian Air Force in Iraq?
I don't know that I would go this far. I think the United States is trying to help the Iraqi government. We all are trying to defeat ISIS in Iraq and in Syria.
But they're on the side of the Iranian-backed Shia rebels, yes, Shia militia.
Correct. The Iraqi government invited the Iranians to operate out of Iraq, which we believe is not good for Iraq. Iran has no business fighting on the ground in Iraq. We believe that the solution to Iraq's problem is to implement the reform package agreed to last summer that would bring the Sunnis into the fold, that would decentralize the security forces, and then use the Sunnis in Iraq to take on ISIS the way they did in 2006, 2007 when they turned against al-Qaeda.
But are you concerned that the U.S., not to say that they're working together, but it ends up on the same side in Iraq as Iran is?
I believe that the United States is aware of the danger, and I believe the U.S. is trying to walk a fine line between supporting the Iraqi government and fighting ISIS on one hand and making sure that it doesn't help the Iranians on the other hand. It's a complicated situation. We wish that the Iraqi government would allow other countries to come in and help them in their effort against ISIS so that they don't have to rely on the Iranians. We think that the Iranian presence in Iraq is destabilizing and is dangerous.